Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs pregame show presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Cubs and Orioles getting ready to play out at Camden Yards. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo, Ryan Herrera. Just a 2-game series in Baltimore. Then the Cubs get another off day. Then they go to play the Yankees. Out east all week, and we have other big baseball news somewhat related to the Cubs, because Joe Maddon will always be related to the Cubs. Joe Maddon fired by the Angels this afternoon in the middle of a 12-game losing streak. What were your thoughts when you heard that, first of all? Just Joe Maddon canned by the Angels.
For me, I mean, I was on my scooter riding to the West Loop, so I saw it pop up on my phone because I got one of those little stand things. I saw it pop up, and I was like, ooh. And then I was like, ooh, avoid that bump. So I didn't really have much to...
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, I didn't have too much time to really react right away, but I did find it interesting. I guess, Joe Girardi was fired the other day too. I guess you can say it's managerial firing season. I don't know. Like, it's not the first. Like, I feel like this happens every year. 1 or 2 are fired before the deadline. I don't know. It's weird because the Angels were off to like their best start in so long, and then 12-game losing streak.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, it's for someone who hasn't paid as much attention to the Angels as I guess Angel fans. I think it might be a little too quick, too reactionary.
It's a tough business.
Yeah,
hired to be fired.
Right. So, but I mean, Phil Nevin, I don't know if he has any managerial experience or not. I assume he does if he's going to be the interim one. But I think that I always thought Joe Maddon was good with those young teams. Like, you talk about the 15 Cubs. A lot of that success I felt like was because of him. He had all these young guys come up, and he just kind of took that pressure off those young guys to perform and stuff. And the Angels, they have some young guys, but also have a lot of veterans too. And to me, what Joe Maddon brings to a team, it's not like the Angels really need that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So maybe they just thought the fit just didn't mix anymore. And I mean, maybe they just needed a switch because you lose 12 games in a row and something's got to give. So to me, I was a little surprised, and yeah, tough business. Like
I had heard he was on the hot seat anyway, which for me is a little weird because he was there for a 60-game season, a season where Trout and Rendon were hurt, and then this year. But I get it, 12-game losing streak.
Yeah, Jared actually had a tweet. Our good friend Jared Willis said, I think Joe Maddon is at his best when teams need help being relaxed and not letting the situation get too big for them. But I think his weakness is that sometimes teams need a kick in the ass too. What do you think? Does that even go back as far as his Cubs tenure here?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's what he was talking about.
For sure, because at the end of his tenure with the Cubs, everyone said he didn't hold players accountable. The amount of times that even Javi ended up coming out and saying, that in his final years, that he just kind of did whatever he wanted, and there just wasn't a lot of accountability. And I do think that's something that David Ross does bring. So, yeah, maybe I do like that. Like, that's a good point.
Would you ever like to see Maddon back in some other fashion with the Cubs organization? I don't know what that would be. Team ambassador. I mean, back for. I think it'd be right that he would come back for something like Cubs convention every year.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone genuinely liked the guy. So why?
I don't understand the fans that hate Joe Maddon, like Cubs fans that hate Joe Maddon.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me because he went to the playoffs basically every year. He 3 NLCS in a World Series.
Right.
And what else? What else did you want from
Everyone
the guy?
just wants to look back at Game 7 and how he basically almost cost them the World Series.
Yeah, but they don't get there.
They don't get there without him. And I kind of hinted at that earlier, with what I said about how they played in 15. No one thought they were going to be anything in 15. And yeah, I do think that talent and players are the reasons that teams win more often than not. But I think Maddon brought a vibe to the team that none of us expected. And he just got he took off so much pressure from a lot of guys that those guys came up and played better than what we expected, and at least to the start, right? But
he definitely when you look at he was the perfect manager to. You had Chris Bryant and Schwarber, break in 2015. Javi got a little bit of a shot in 2014. Same with Hendricks. Rizzo had been there for a few years. And then, 16 was when Wilson came up. It's just like a lot of players with not a lot of experience in the big leagues. And a lot of young players can let the moment get to them and big press, right?
Yep.
And so I
Kinda
think
like
Joe Maddon was very good at letting them be themselves and encouraging them to be themselves, encouraging them to have fun because they're in the big leagues. And then obviously that turned into 2016 in the World Series, even 2017, another NLCS appearance. And then after that, it just kind of the Cubs probably needed a kick in the ass, and Joe Maddon just seemed maybe too laid back, too chill of a manager to do that. And really, I mean, I don't know the inner workings of the Cubs during that time. I wasn't covering the beat, but it just didn't seem from the outside. It didn't seem that he was the guy that's gonna really get on the players and really press himself, which maybe it was kind of needed.
Yeah.
Perfect guy for a young startup. So I'm just saying, we can get 4 chairs, Joe. I'm looking at you, Joe Maddon.
Right here.
Embrace the target. We're available. You get a little free time between your next gig.
Yeah.
Joe, we're ready to make room. You can
Everyone-
talk about your restaurants.
Yeah.
We can talk about California. We could talk about the Cubs.
Talk about that van you always took to spring training.
The van. Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, Joe. We're available for you.
Yeah.
Give us a call.
Everyone's talking about getting him on Marquee. It's like, screw that. Come to CHGO.
Yeah, Marquis doesn't need. We'll put him right here.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, even if he didn't want to do any of that stuff, the obvious fit for him is something like MLB Network. Like if he really wants to, but why not start young group?
He would be a great just.
He'd be so good.
Yeah, you would get all the Maddenisms and
Yes.
but you'd also get a little bit of old school, but with a little bit of new school at the same time. Because I feel like he has a little bit of both in terms of vibe and just with the way that he manages games.
Don't you think he'd be spectacular on a broadcast though, as an analyst? Oh, I think he'd be.
Yeah.
I think he'd be really good.
Yeah, he'd have a lot of stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd listen to it and give it a shot.
Sorry,
I'm sure it'd be better than some of the other ones that we've heard. That's for sure.
I've just been looking at just kind of fan graphs. So the last time they won was on May 24th, and they were 10 games over 500.
Right.
And just as far as offense, I mean, I'm only looking at offensive numbers, but as far as that went, they were near the top of the league in pretty much everything. A lot of their stats in the last 12 games, that whole stretch. Not very good.
Trout especially.
Oh yeah, they are one of 2 teams with just an overall negative WAR as a team at the plate, negative 0.1. Detroit is the only one that's worse than them over that stretch. It's just it's a 2-week sample. I don't know.
It's tough.
What do we think? Is that just?
I personally think he was fired because they have Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, the 2 best players in baseball, and they haven't won anything while he's been there. I'm just saying all 3 years have been kind of weird. This isn't even a year. This is a quarter of a year that you're looking at. 12. You're talking about 12 bad games.
It's 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since they won. And sure, they got a huge, long losing streak that dropped them from half game out of first place at that point in time. They were a game out of first place at the end of May 24th, and now they are 8.5.
Yeah.
That's
Trout's longest over streak of his career has been in this stretch.
It's been a lot, and so
Which is wild.
I wonder just how much it kind of. What are we looking at?
I'm looking at Ravi saying on the chat that he says, I would root for the Sox somewhat if Joe managed them.
Ravi coming in hot.
I would laugh a little bit if they actually did fire TLR and then hire Joe Maddon. I would get a nice little laugh out of it. I could care less if Joe Maddon wouldn't and manage the White Sox.
What if it was Len Casper was there, Steve Stone was there, Joe Maddon was there? Pretty good Cubs flavor to
Oh
it.
yeah.
White Sox fans that don't like the Cubs hated Joe Maddon.
Oh yeah,
during
they don't
that
want
time.
Joe Maddon.
They
I've
hated
seen that on
Joe
Twitter.
Maddon.
They don't want Joe Maddon.
Oh, that would be
Even
so
though,
good.
everything that they hated him for is the reason is
He would be a perfect choice.
Their slogan now.
Right, he would be a
Yeah.
perfect
Oh,
choice
yeah.
for that young team, but they would never go for it.
Yeah,
Even if he wouldn't be the perfect choice, he'd be better than the current choice.
for sure. I
But
agree.
I'll stay out of White Sox business.
This is a Cubs show, Luke.
It is a Cubs show. Let's get to the Cubs news, right? So they have we were expecting some different moves. We thought this might be Bodie Day. Alec Mills activated off the 60-day, Anderson Espinoza to Double-A. But David Bodie had dizziness, and so he's still not coming back. Seiya, Gomes, and VR take batting practice. We all thought this was the game Bodie would come back, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what this
about
is about.
Today, I was getting ratioed by a bunch of random people because we're not really ratioed, but just like a lot of replies where people were like, they should do this, they should do that, and like a lot of people were actually scared that the Cubs were going to demote Morel, and I'm like, you can't. They're not going to be dumb enough to do that. Obviously, like 3/4 of them were like DFA Hayward. Like we've talked enough about it. I don't want to talk about DFAing Hayward. Would we be upset about it? No. But are the Cubs going to actually do it?
No.
I will. The Cubs will do it when I actually see it. Like I'll believe it when they actually do it. They're just not going to. Ryan has told us his objective view on it, and I have just sat on it, and I'm dealing with it. All right. So, yeah. I mean, other than that, if it's not going to be him, then to me it would have been VR or Simmons. I know Hermosillo probably could have been an option since he's been on the 60-day IL and hasn't done jack shit anyway. And that's a guy that I'm like really rooting for. But you can't play, and he hasn't been good. So I would have understood that if they wanted to keep VR and Simmons to, if they do want to find some trade value in him, But yeah, he's get dizziness. So we're just, we're gonna see. We're gonna wait until it happens. But all I know is that Christopher Morel is not leaving this roster.
No, I would agree 100% there.
I will be shocked, and then would go on a gigantic rant on that balcony out there if they were to actually do that.
It would just be way too tough for them to justify sending him down right now. Like there's no. He's been good. He's been really good, and there has been no slump. There's no signs of him slowing down. There's just no justifying us sending him down.
0% chance. Cody would be picketing outside Wrigley Field the next homestand.
Cody would be leading the charge.
I would be leading the charge. It would be an absolute disgrace if they were to actually do that. I would not blame people for wanting to like riot outside Wrigley Field if they actually did that.
Oh yeah, Cody's right there if it happens.
Yeah,
right there.
It's not going to happen though. It might happen later in the season if things aren't going well, but it's not happening right now. And I don't know why it would happen later in the season because they're going to trade a bunch of guys and they'll need Morel anyway. So, speaking of, we were talking about Jason Hayward. Today's lineup, taking a look at it, Morel is leading off, which again, I just think it's fascinating that they even thought to put him there because I would have expected you're taking a guy from Double-A basically who has very little professional experience and you're sticking him at the top of a lineup and he's thrived there. Morel Contreras Happ has been a great 1-2-3 for the Cubs. It really has worked out well. Now the question I have is Hayward playing over Frazier. And I know, like, I don't want to get into this every night. And I know it's got matchups, lefty, all that stuff. But, like, I just want to see Frazier play more consistently. We know what Jason Hayward is. I don't care if Frazier's facing a pitcher that he might not do well against. Fine, then let's see what he's like against guys. Give him an opportunity.
Yeah.
He was hurt. Like, we just haven't seen him. And I hope he doesn't end up being one of the guys that gets jettisoned before we know enough about him.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like the big thing. If you read on Cubs Twitter or just any kind of blog or anything at all about Jason Hayward, it's like we understand that, like, yes, he had a big part of the winning seasons and, like, he's a good dude and, like, all that shit. That's true. We get it. But at the same time, if you're not going to put a better product on the field, all fans have left to look at or be hopeful about or excited about are young players who could potentially be part of the next team. And Clint Frazier is what, 26, 27?
27.
Like, and he was a former first-round pick, and we're not seeing him in the lineup on a consistent basis because of Jason Hayward. Like, I'm with you, Luke. Like, I'd rather see Clint Frazier too.
I'm not even saying DFA the guy. I'm not. I like, if you want to keep him for all the reasons that Ryan has talked about, if you want to keep him on the roster because you have enough experiments going on currently on the 40-man roster and on the current roster, if you want to keep him and just play him occasionally and bring him in defensively and be someone that helps Seiya when he comes back and helps Morel even more. All of those things I'm okay with.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be necessarily my choice, but I'd be okay with that. I'm just saying you don't have to play him over Frazier on a regular basis. That's David Ross knows better than I do. I just think it's a weird decision.
That's just like, again, you're going to hear about it, and people are just going to keep screaming it from the witch house.
Yeah.
It's that's the general consensus, but it's also just not going to change.
No, I agree.
I've always just been like, it's just like you look at arguing lineups in general has never been my thing. I don't know, but just like when you go to Hayward specifically and him playing a lot, should he be playing over Clint Frazier? I don't think so, but also it's like, no matter the argument, like David Ross is going to do what David Ross wants to do, and obviously right now it's playing Hayward over Frazier right now, so it's just like I'm so
to me,
I'm so far away from like wanting to just like argue lineups right now.
To me, the reason it bothers me the most is that Clint Frazier had some good games last week, so you want to keep that mojo going, and like Hap's having a good year, you're going to play him, and Morel's in center. Like I don't, the only way that you can actually kind of justify is if you put Hayward in center, played Morel at second, and bench Madrigal, and then play Frazier. You know what I mean? Like, but then you're not getting at bats out of Madrigal because of Jason Hayward again. It is
and
what
Cody,
it is.
It's not changing at the trade deadline because I don't think anybody's trading for Jason Hayward.
No.
Maybe somebody does. I don't actually think he'd be terrible for some teams. Like he might be a fit for a team that needs an extra outfielder. But I don't think he's one guy that's being traded at the trade deadline. And so the outfield spots don't change. If Hap is still here, which I think is better than a 50% chance, and Hayward is still here and Morel's there, like Frazier's still not going to get the at-bats. So why, he's going to have to prove it in like rare pinch hitting appearances and spot starts, I guess. I don't know how he gets that job done.
I'll say this in defense of Jason Hayward, he had a good game over the weekend against the Cardinals. I think game 1 he had 2 hits, or maybe it was something
like that.
It was either game 1 or game 2 on Saturday that he had 2 hits and a walk. And I thought in the Sunday night game he had good at bats too, even though he had 1 hit. He started taking the ball at the opposite field a lot more. That's something that I've always said, that when he's going good, that's what he's doing, because he's not rolling over to second base every single freaking time. Yeah, if they actually are playing him because they're like, oh, maybe we can get a team that will take half the contract, we'll eat a little bit of it, and we can get like a low A product or whatever, or something like that. I don't know. Like if that's actually in their heads, then fine. But I still think for the betterment of the team in the future, you're better off playing Frazier or just anyone else out there on a consistent basis. But because I'm over how much money they're paying him. It's like
death doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it's like death taxes and Jason Hayward's contract when people were talking about him online, and it's like, who cares at this point? Everyone complains about how the Ricketts aren't spending any money, so like, who cares if the Cubs are paying him all this money? Because it's not like it's affecting them anyway right now. So to me, it's like, play the guys that you're trying to figure out and are going to be part of the next team or not. Like,
so we actually have a live view here of what will happen if this continues with the Cubs.
Yes.
If they send Morel down or Hayward continues to get starts in right field, this might be the situation outside Wrigley.
Once again, calling for a boycott. I love that.
Hell yes.
Cody's boycott sign.
Hell yeah.
Clark and Addison.
Big time.
Cody, what about your gambling for tonight? You got any big bets you're throwing out there?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's just throw it out there. We're riding Cubs money line tonight. Keegan Thompson taking the mound. He's 6-0 for the Cubs. Win-loss record doesn't mean jack shit in 2022 for baseball, but he's 6-0, which means he's putting the Cubs in position to win. So, taking Cubs money line tonight. And I'm making that bet on PointsBet, guys.
Nice. That's the place to do it.
Yeah. It's the best way to support CHGO is if you download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. And you even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker, where I got this shirt, by the way. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com and we'll help you. Remember that PointsBet is your home for live in-game betting. They even have a new exclusive feature, live NBA same-game parlay, for the first time ever. Build the perfect live same-game parlay only with PointsBet. There's not that much time left. NBA Finals are on right now. game tomorrow. Get in on that. So now online sign-up is available in Illinois as well. If you didn't know, you must have been under a rock if you didn't know, because it's been out for a while. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. Signing up with the fastest sportsbook is now easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in seconds. Use code CHGO to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Well, I wanted to bring up, we didn't talk VR, did we?
No, just the,
so
the
he was
injury.
So he took BP today. That's reports coming out from Baltimore. He's eligible to come off the IL, and we saw him on Sunday. He said it was just like kind of the mouth, the teeth, gums, and whatever that was affected. So he was able to do stuff, just stay in shape and stuff like that. And I know we kind of asked Ross about it too, and he said, well, look at that. He's feeling good, was able to work out while he was gone and stay in shape. So he should be coming off Tuesday, barring anything that we may see. As far as we know, he hasn't come off yet.
Right.
So I'm curious if there is something that popped up, if there is something that
popped up.
If there's a reason that he's not off the IL. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because we talked to Alec Mills came off the IL. Bodie was also supposed to come off, but apparently the dizziness and is able to extend his rehab, I guess.
Right.
But I'm curious what the situation is with Jonathan VR.
I don't know. I thought he was going to be the guy that would be DFA'd.
Yeah, he'd be.
I did. Choice. I thought VR they would
at least
activate him and
really good
and send him out.
But the Cubs have got neither of the two from VR. So yeah, VR or Simmons would have been my choice.
I mean, VR was almost certainly signed as a guy they were trying to trade and flip at the deadline if that scenario came up. And obviously I don't think there's value there. I don't think they'd get anything. So I assumed that when he was healthy, that was going to be the move.
Of all the players that have really struggled with the Cubs, that I thought that they could trade, him struggling is really surprising me. He was almost a 3-WAR player last year, and this year, like, the bat speed is not there. The defense is not there. I don't know what happened to him. So
I thought it was a good signing.
Yeah, I really did think it was solid, and I thought that going into the year, perhaps platooning him and Wisdom there at third would have been, okay. And they could have played Wisdom in left on some days. They wanted to move Hap to center or right, or if they wanted to give Hap a day off. But, like, VR's been so bad on defense that you don't even want to put him out there. And his bat hasn't been there either. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, of the two signings, VR and Simmons, there was way more pushback from fans about the Simmons signing than there was the VR. I don't remember too many people just being like, Simmons won. There was a lot of feedback.
Well, I remember because that was the first day the lockout ended, right?
Yeah.
I think I was on my way to the airport when that happened, and everyone was like expecting it to be Carlos Correa.
There was still a lot of Correa talk, yeah.
And then the Simmons one happened, and that like killed a lot of people's hopes. And then VR came like maybe a couple days later, and I don't remember it getting the same like vitriol that Simmons.
Right.
But also because at that point Simmons was like the shortstop, right?
Yes.
And VR was a guy that could play.
And we didn't know Nico was going to play shortstop as well as he's played it this season.
Yeah.
I see Ravi saying, bring up Bodie. He was dizzy today, so that's why nothing is happening with him. Speaking of Correa, why don't we save the Bob Nightingale free agency thing for post-game? So if you're on the chat, post-game we'll talk about what Nightingale was reporting, a general manager talking about some of these free agent targets that they certainly believe the Cubs will get at least one of.
That's what he says.
That's what Bob says, a GM has said.
Yes, Bob said a GM said this. So
interesting.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
It drew some pretty funny Twitter responses over the last few days. Let's get to who you got. I saw Jared typed his in, and, it's really heating up. What are we, 655 now?
6550?
6550.
Has Jared not won one
Jared
yet?
hasn't won yet.
Okay.
Ryan jumped in and was like, boom,
Oh, I was.
He was now waiting. Once we got him out of the ballpark and back into the studio, he wasn't going to wait on us making a pick. So
I wasn't letting you. I was
driving the car when I got I saw a notification. I'm like, I bet I know what that is.
I was stuck in traffic. I wasn't moving, so I was like, good time to pick here.
That is so bad. So bad.
I wasn't moving. I was like at a standstill. Oh, man, it was brutal.
It was rough. You're going Morel.
I'm going Morel. I think I should automatically win. Every game he extends his on-base streak, I should automatically win. As long as I pick him.
Well, I did have Contreras for a couple days in a row. I will say that. I'm going Keegan Thompson because I believe the mayor of Chicago will shove, as Cody likes to say.
He does shove, and he should be the mayor of Chicago still because of what he did to Andrew McCutchen opening weekend.
And he should also be an all-star. ERA under 2, 6-0 record.
Perhaps, yes.
You know, it's
we'll see.
2 months ago on Thursday is the when he beat McCutchen. So we got an anniversary coming up.
Oh,
ooh, that's good. Everything went up after that.
For him, at least.
Yeah, he took off after that.
Yeah.
Cody, you're going with Big Frank, the Tank?
Yeah, Frank the Tank. Schwindel, he's been mashing baseballs of late. His numbers ever since he sat middle seat on a United Airlines flight or whatever it was on his way to San Diego have been pretty good. And I don't know, guys. I think the Cubs are going to keep him, and I kind of like him. Whether going into next year at this point, if he keeps being this productive, I think he could be a really solid first baseman or DH. So,
no one wanted to pick Patrick Wisdom and his knob.
No, the big knob.
I thought about it. I thought about Patrick Wisdom's
taking Horner,
knob, but I didn't.
I'm taking Horner.
You're taking
officially.
Horner. Joseph's going Keegan. Jack wants in on Morel.
Ravi got Schwindy City.
Thank
you, Ferris.
Jack hit last time too with Schwindel.
Well, Jack R's. I got Morel, so he's with me. Also, Ferris, thank you. He said you guys don't even give Ryan a chance. I know they don't. But thank you to our viewers for being on my side here. Hashtag Team Ryan.
The great thing about being in on the chat is you can pick somebody that's already been picked.
Exactly.
Sure, we'd all pick Morel today if we could.
Yeah.
I see Ferris is saying mayor of Chicago, ? No comment. Apparently he doesn't like your idea that he should be the next mayor. He must be a Morel fan. Maybe he wants Morel for mayor.
Maybe.
Keegan for
But Morel's already Lord and Savior. Morel's already the Lord and Savior according to Cody.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Morel's our Lord and Savior. Keegan Thompson should be the mayor of our city because he would go to war for any of us. So
Robbie says, hashtag we stand with Ryan.
Thank you.
The entire chat is on Ryan's side.
Oh,
this
my
is weird.
Jared has Contreras.
Love it.
Jared has Contreras, which with the 4th pick seems like a pretty good selection.
Yeah.
Actually, he was taken before Cody took Schwindel.
That's true. Yeah, he took Contreras, and then I was like, all right, it's either Wisdom or Schwindel, and I couldn't decide, so I took the guy who sat in the middle seat of an airplane.
I would also like to put an honorary who I got as Hayward. I'm going to continue to do that every time he's in the lineup.
You're taking Hayward, and I thought you'd taken Horner.
You just took Horner.
No, I'm revoking it. I take Hayward.
You're taking Hayward.
When it hits, I will look like a genius.
All right. But aren't you just going to take him every game?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's going to, I guess,
theoretically,
it would hit.
Statistical regression to the mean. He's going to get a hit eventually.
I'm saying, all right? Theoretically, it should hit at some point.
Yeah.
Does PointsBet do an odds on Hayward for who you got pick?
They have odds on
Probably get a pretty good return if it happens.
That's like what Cody would do if his bank was down to like $2 and he needed like a miracle play. He puts the $2 on Hayward to win like 1,000.
Yeah.
You know?
That is something I would do, yeah.
I'm no math magician, but I think a Hayward home run bet would get you a lot of money.
It would, yeah.
I'm feeling that
Dubs
tonight.
wants Ian, Hap for Steven.
Okay.
Marcus taking Nico. Sounds good.
All right.
Cubs and Orioles, 2 games after the game, big hour-long post-game show. Hope you'll join us. And, of course, as Ravi said, I've laid the breadcrumbs for the Bob Nightingale free agency conversation as well.
Talk about it.
We'll see you after the game. Until then, fly the W.